we had the first team clinch a playoff spot in the 2025 Stanley Cup playoffs with a little bit under a month to go before the playoffs officially begin here. And the Washington Capitals are the first team to get in. I'm a little shocked. I gotta be honest. If you told me at the beginning of the season that the Washington Capitals were going to be the first team to get into the playoffs, I don't really think I would have believed you. Again, I had them. I think I had them just outside of the playoffs looking in. I didn't have them as a team that I thought was really going to, really make it. I thought they were going to, barely just scrape in or, barely miss out, kind of like last year, but definitely be better than they were last year with the ads. I just didn't know if all of them were going to mesh together, and I was completely wrong. They all have in a very good way as well. So last year, I do want to go back to last year. They were 40, 31, and 11 last season for 91 points. They had a minus 37 difference, and they were the last team into the playoffs. Again, remember back at that time was when that was just such a mosh pit of all the teams battling for that Eastern wildcard spot. It was like them, the Flyers, the Red Wings. I think the Penguins were like in there for a little bit. It really became just a massive mosh pit of all these teams battling for this one spot amongst each other. And, the team that ended up getting it was Washington, and they ended up getting swept in the first round by the New York Rangers, but they still got in. I guess that's a good thing there. But this year, they make some ads in the offseason. They bring in Pierre-Luc Dubois. They bring in Logan Thompson. They bring in a couple of the players on their roster as well, and Jacob Chychrun. And they completely kind of change some forms of their core. And this year, they are absolutely blazing. 46, 15, and 8 for 100 points. They have a plus 73 difference now, and they are the first team in this year. It's just unreal how this Caps team took a complete 180 with, I would say, basically the same roster. Just adding in Dubois and Chychrun and, Mangiapane and a few other guys, and then adding in Thompson on the back end. It's basically the same roster that they had, just a couple changes, but they were big changes at that, to be honest with you. So, helping into the leading scorers of this team, Dylan Strome is leading the way with all Capitals players in points, and the Caps are a special instance. There isn't one specific player on Washington that is like running away with everything, that is running away with all of the stats and is doing so good. No, everybody's kind of close within each other. Like the 1 to, I would say, 6 are all separated by like 10 points, to be honest, all combined together. So it's just kind of crazy to think they have a lot of guys scoring at the same rate, which is a good thing. You don't have one guy who's like carrying the entire roster by a city mile. You have 3 or 4 guys who are all scoring at a specific rate and are all having a really good season. Dylan Strome being one of them. 69 games played, 22 goals, 45 assists, which is first on the team, for 67 points, which is also first on the team. Strome has had an incredible year. Dylan Strome has been somebody who I've been following for a while during his time with Chicago. He didn't get matched there, comes to Washington. He's been a consistent 60, 70-point scorer the entire time he's been with the Caps. And unless if something happens or if he goes like ice cold the rest of the year, he's going to reach 70, probably 75 points, maybe even 80 if he does have a really hot end of the season. So overall, like that puts the Caps in a great spot, having a 1C there in Strome that before then wasn't really looked as a 1C, but now can be that guy. And it's just really impressive to see how, he comes in here with Backstrom being gone and kind of replaces him immediately. Not like fully, but you get what I'm saying. So Strome's been a big guy that I've really been impressed with. Another guy that I've been impressed with that really surprised me is Alexi Protas. Protas had a complete breakout year this year. 69 games played, 29 goals, 33 assists for 62 points. Protas, nearly a point per game, was a later draft pick back in 2019, has been actually awesome this season and has finally had like a breakout year. And he might not even be the best Protas. His brother might be even better. And guess what? The Caps have him. So, that is, actually insane to think. You're going to have the Protas brothers on the same team. I believe Ilya is on Windsor. I think he has, 100 points through, 60 games played or something like that. He's playing really good over there in the OHL. So, yeah, he might not even be the best Protas brother. And he's tearing it up right now for the Caps. Another guy who is tearing it up, who I'm a little bit shocked he's here. Pierre-Luc Dubois, third in scoring, 69 games played, 18 goals, 42 assists for 60 points. Now, Caps fans will even tell you themselves that getting Dubois was a bit of a risk. It was, because you're getting a guy who was on a long-term contract. He looked terrible in the first year of that contract in LA. You heard things about how the GM himself went out there on skates and tried to help Dubois, and just it wouldn't work out. And as a result, he was traded in the offseason. It was a risk, but seeing how Dubois has played under Spencer Carberry, it has just worked perfectly. And I think that, you put him alongside guys like Ovechkin and, Protas. I think it's put him with good line mates who have helped him, move the puck around better and just rack up assists. And I think that that's great to see from a guy like Dubois, who definitely has had his struggles in seasons before. I just hope that it can continue long term, because again, this season's been great and all, but what if he doesn't continue it throughout next season and the season after? Again, that is something that I just think of there when I think of the Capitals and Dubois. But overall, this season and the present, Dubois has been really good. Another player who has been really good, Alex Ovechkin, who is on the brink of history. 53 games played, 35 goals, first on the team. He is 7 away from Gretzky, 22 assists, 57 points. It's been a storyline that we've been following all year. We thought at the beginning of the year, we're like, I don't know, because he needed like 35, 40 goals to get to Gretzky's record, like 42, I'm pretty sure it was. And a lot of people said it was very unlikely. I even said, I think he's going to break it at the end of this year or early next year. And it's looking like he might break it by the end of this year. Honestly, if he didn't get injured, I genuinely think the record would have been broken already, because he was on an absolute tear until that injury, and then he comes back and went on a tear yet again. Just the goals are very spread out and very, very far apart from each other, so he does need 7 more in about, I think, 15 games. So I think he likely does get it during that span of time. Again, all it takes is for a hat trick, and he's 4 away. So it could really just change just like that. So with Ovechkin there, I'm wondering when the record's going to be broken. I'm thinking it's at... it would be very cinematic if it was the last game of the season, because they play Pittsburgh the last game of the season. That would be movie-worthy if Ovechkin broke the goal record with Sidney Crosby playing on the ice while he did it. That would be awesome. An awesome moment for that generation that grew up with those two players. Be pretty cool. Tom Wilson, 68 games played, 30 goals, 27 assists for 57 points. Tom Wilson playing in both ways on the ice. Good physical. We know what he can be. He can be an agitator, and then he can also be an offensively scoring player. A little bit shocked he didn't make the Four Nations team, to be honest with you. I think next year in the Olympics, even though Canada did win, I think Wilson should be considered on that team, because you look at guys like Brady Tkachuk and Matthew Tkachuk and players on the USA who were very agitated and aggressive. I think that it would make a lot of sense for Tom Wilson to be on that team next year. But he's had a really good season this year after there were some doubters about if he could stay consistent or not moving forward. Connor McMichael, 69 games played, 24 goals, 28 assists, 52 points. McMichael, again, I feel like he had a really good first half. He's kind of cooled down a little bit in the second half, but still a very good player. He was picked back in 2019. I've been waiting for him to break out for a while, and he finally has. So McMichael there on that side with the Caps, I think, has been great. John Carlson, always been a good defenseman, has been the same this year. 69 games played, 4 goals, 41 assists, 45 points. He's been wonderful as well. And then Jacob Chychrun, big breakout defenseman, 64 games played, 18 goals, 25 assists, 43 points. Leads all defensemen in goals. Just a couple points back for the defensive lead in points. He's been awesome this year. He's been absolutely spectacular, and I think that should not go unnoticed. He had a really good first half. Kind of cooled down a little bit in the second half. Again, a lot of these guys did too. You can't expect them to go all full the entire way through, but you do hope that they are pretty healthy and pretty well rested in the playoffs. So do want to just say that to keep that in mind. But yeah, Jacob Chychrun has been a great player for Washington this season. Was an incredible deal that they acquired in that trade. Moving on to the goaltenders, you got Logan Thompson up first. Thompson has had a wonderful season. He was somebody last year in Vegas who split time with Adin Hill but never really got the chance to be the starter. He was traded at the draft to Washington, and this year, 30, 4 and 5 with a 2.29 and a .917. He has cooled down a little bit since, when the Capitals were really good, but he is still more than likely going to be a Vezina finalist and win that Vezina trophy or come up second in that Vezina trophy, unless Connor Hellebuyck has a horrible stretch for the rest of the year, but it's likely going to be Connor Hellebuyck that wins it. The odds are insane on the betting apps, so I think it's more than likely than not going to be Hellebuyck. That's not to say that Thompson doesn't deserve it, though. I think in any other year he wins it, but with how Hellebuck's been this year, he's been a beast, and I just don't know if Thompson's the one that will get that award. And then Charlie Lindgren, 16, 11, and 3, a 2.63 and a .901. Lindgren's been good this year as well. I think that, again, his numbers are a little bit lower than others just because he's faced lesser shots, he's played lesser games, and I feel like he's been in there for some rough games the Capitals have played this season. But overall, the Caps are the first team to get into the playoffs. It's still kind of unknown who they'll play in the first round. You have a grasp of the 3 or 4 teams it could be, but right now, it's just so competitive for that second wildcard spot. You really just don't know right now. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below on the Washington Capitals. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to like the video down below. And please do consider subscribing to join the community that we are building here. We will have some Watch with Nordic live streams of the Capitals in the Stanley Cup playoffs. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be a fun time then. But anyways, that's it for me. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next video.